It is a new week of SDH AM. And why can I not hear myself? That's a good start. Hang on. What's going on here? You, no. Oh, this is unique. Wait a second. I thought I heard something. Hey, there it is. Okay, that's way down there. All right, hang on. That's odd. That is very odd. It's way down there. Hang on. No. That's crazy. Okay. Why can I not hear myself? That is wild. Okay, this is new. Oh, okay. That's what happened. Good Lord, people. Good morning. Hi. It's another go round of SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. And I have no earthly idea what just happened. I really don't. I couldn't hear me. And that's, it was crazy. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. Morning, Michael. There we go. All right. So it is a Monday. It's a reaction Monday. I just reacted to not being able to hear myself in my ear, which really freaked me out. So we got a lot to get into today. Standard Monday crew. It is Abe Gordon coming up in a bit. Then it is Maddie Cruz coming up at 9:30. And then it is Bart Keeler coming in at 10 o'clock. Rundown is as follows. Abe comes in. We talk about Atlanta United and what happened on the weekend. We got your numbers. We have some highlights. We've got some post-game that we'll get into here in the show. You'll hear from Alexei Miranchuk, and you'll hear from Tristan William-Baugh. Then 9:30, then it's Maddie who comes in, and we will continue the discussion on Atlanta United. We'll get into the twos. We've got highlights from the twos. For those of you that might have missed it last night on the network, the twos hung on, and let's just say it was interesting. It was an interesting match last night up at Turner Soccer Complex in Athens. The first half home, as far as we know so far, for Atlanta United 2 in MLS NEXT Pro. And then at 10 o'clock, Bart Keeler is going to come in, and he will discuss cards and calls, which kind of Abby, the players were trying to get out. And so if you're talking for the twos post-game, players were trying to get out of Dodge, and so we had to go down and get post-game. And so we'll kind of do post-game over here the next couple of days. The match post-game for the first team was on Star 94. And apparently Apple had some issues early in converting over to Star 94. So if you wanted to listen to the match, then it took them a little bit, but then they finally got that switch flipped and everything was fine. But so there we go. First team match. Yeah, Star 94. So Star 94, and there are going to be another couple of times this year where the first team will be on Star 94. So post-game, Star 94 was where the match was, and so it'll be over there. Because Abe and I got to go through the numbers there on the post-game show that ended about 10:30. Okay, David, that is a good question. I do not know if the post-game show is up. And if it is not up now, hang on just a second. So let's do a little fact-finding here. So 92.9, the game. And we'll see if the podcast, so Off the Woodwork, so let's see if it's been posted. And it is, let's see, no, it is not up. Okay, so we need to send out a bolo on the post-game show for 92.9. Okay, so it is not up currently. So that is the, yes, and that is true. So Hawks game squashed 92.9. That's why it moved over to Star 94. But it is not currently in the Off the Woodwork podcast section at 92.9, the game on the Odyssey app. And so we'll try and figure out troubleshooting that and making sure that goes down. So it is a lot to get into, a bunch of different things. And so here's the rundown for the week. So tomorrow, in addition to normal things, Glenn Davis is going to join us at 9:30. We'll discuss what happened to him and kind of still what is happening in Houston. We'll get into his thoughts on Major League Soccer. We'll also talk to him about the Dash and the sale that is currently on the books and the desire to sell, and also about Houston and the World Cup. And so hopefully we can be in a place where Glenn can join us fairly regularly, and we can talk about Major League Soccer and the World Cup and anything and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that with Glenn tomorrow morning, 9:30. KCD is going to join us at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Nino and Nico in the Power Hour on Thursday from 10 to 11. And then on Friday, our friends from Apple TV at 10. And hopefully we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. Michael Parkhurst, our mogul in training, is having to juggle that and the labor situation in USL Championship. And so we'll see what's going on with him. And Greg Garza is being a dad and making sure that his soccer playing sons are playing in and around the country. And so when we can catch up with them, we'll try to catch up with them as best we can and find out what's going on with them. But right now, Glenn Davis and KCD tomorrow morning, right in the middle of the show. And then it's right now, Dylan on Wednesday. We're going to effort Dave Leno again for opposition research later in the week when it comes to Atlanta and Philly. And we'll get into that with him, plus all the other folks that we're chasing as the week goes along. So that's the rundown for the week in and of itself when it comes to everything here on the show. And it is, like I said, it's going to be an interesting week. I wish I could see anything and everything going on here. So looking at all of my notes, trying to figure out, okay, where am I here and what are we doing? Okay. Like I said, Abe's going to join us here in a couple of minutes, and we will go through everything from Atlanta United and the Twos with him and Maddie, and we'll get that going in just a little bit. Opening kickoff is brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. And I think I stashed my notes. Anyway, Black Pitch Coffee, obviously, they're a great partner with us here at SDH, and you see them at all of our events. We start our day off with opening kickoff. You start your day off with them, and it is the beans that are from Brazil and Guatemala. You have the rich taste that is available to you there at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We want to thank them for being great partners with us here at SDH. All right, opening kickoff. Is daylight saving time kicking your ass as much as it is mine? That's the big question. That is opening kickoff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our buddy Abe Gordon and ask the opening kickoff question to start things off today and find out what's going on in his brain. So Abe Gordon, you heard the opening kickoff question. Is daylight saving time kicking your ass as much as it is mine?
I don't think it's daylight savings time, separate of the genius idea I've had to kind of not have energy drinks moving forward. We'll see how long that lasts.
Oh, no.
I think it's more that than anything. I think it did its damage yesterday just because I was short on sleep, but I went to bed early enough last night that I'm good today. It doesn't really bother me. I don't have that much of a hangover from that sort of thing.
I'm just absolutely destroyed. It takes me about a week to get oriented in figuring out, okay, so yes, spring forward is awful. And I mean, it was, because, we do our thing, we have our post-game show, and then, it all, it takes a little while to calm down, and you're sitting there, and, I was probably still up at about 2:00 in the morning, and I was winding down finally, doing my stretching and everything.
Well, I guess if you were up at 2:00, you really mean 3:00?
Well, that was the thing. It's like I literally was stretching, and you see the clock on your phone go at 1:59, 2:00, 3:00, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And so that stuck with me, and I've yet to recover. So I'm going to probably be another 4 or 5 days.
Let me give you maybe a tip or a hint to help, because I think you're dealing more with a mental aspect than a physical thing. You got to change your clocks early, right? Like, I think what hurts you is you change your clock after it's already changed. I changed my clock. Like when I got in my car after post game, I was like, all right, my clock says 11:28. No, it's now 12:28. Like I changed it right or whatever time it was. I don't remember exactly. But as soon as I got home, oven changes, microwave changes, and then more specifically, when I get into bed, I go ahead and change the clock then. So like I already know, all right, it's 1 o'clock. I'm finally going to bed, but it's like 1 o'clock, not midnight, soon to be 1 o'clock. So
Okay.
I get ahead of it like that.
Okay. That's not that I've never thought about doing something like that because I'm usually just so busy and everything's running together. It's like, oh crap. And then you wake up and then it's an hour later than you would normally think that it would be on a Sunday. Okay. I will take that under advisement, sir. I appreciate that idea. If I have the spare time to sit there at like 7 o'clock before I'm leaving someplace, okay, it's really 8, but it's really
Yeah.
not. Then you get really confused. All right. So you've had a day to think about it. You and I talked about it in the full-time report. Have opinions either been reinforced thinking about it for the extra day when you went out and jogged a little bit and had some time to think about it? Have they changed? What is still sticking with you from what happened on Saturday night?
No, I really don't think much has changed. I think in the moment, our emotions, our reflections are pretty accurate in this one. I think sometimes I do look back and feel maybe slightly different. Look, it was really nice to have Alexei Moranchuk back there in the starting lineup. Obviously, that paid dividends with his brace. But you fell short, and you fell short partially for some of the same reasons that you conceded in other matches. You go back to that Cincinnati match, the game opening, season opening goal that you conceded, and it was a turnover up the field, and you maybe should have found a way to stop play before the counter. And then you go back to this one, right? It's a deflected shot up the field, and Moyamba has an opportunity to stop the play, doesn't foul hard enough,
Mm.
and the break is on. I think it was Barakal with just not what you ever want to see from your center back. Just it lets a guy just completely run around him way too easily with speed. And so there were two bad plays on that buildup that led to a goal, that counterattack that led to a goal against a team you knew can counterattack you, kind of like Cincinnati a little bit. And so it was frustrating. You finally score, you kind of get back in it. 90 seconds later, you're right back out of it.
Yeah.
That was a tough deal because for a moment the fans were back. And then almost before they had stopped cheering and started to settle down, it was, the ball's being placed at the center circle again, but for the opposing team. And so that was a tough stretch when it felt like you were back in it and immediately handed back to them. So the response, the response after the first goal, you give up a second goal. 4 minutes later, the response after your first goal, you give up a third goal 90 seconds later. The response needs to be better. And I'm still bothered by the comment of Tata Martino that I brought up to you post-game, that it is a long-term process. And it is. I don't disagree with the comment, but it is equally difficult to hear as a fan now watching your team have lost 3 games, including one at home, and trying to essentially be told to be patient. I said before the season, hey, we're going to need to be patient here. Mm-hmm. It's different when they tell us just wait, hold on a minute when you've lost 3 games. And so I know what I said. I need to remind myself of what I said. But someone else telling me to hold your horses doesn't feel great.
I mean, it's 3 matches in 34. And I understand the level of impatience coming from a bunch of different directions. You have how many new faces, well, just in the starting lineup that were not around to be a part of the starting lineup at the end of, let's say, the end of last season. So all things being healthy and all things being equal, you're looking at 2 of the 4 on the back line, plus Cooper Sanchez. And if you wanted to include Juan Barakal starting consistently, then you're looking at 3 of the 4 at the back and one of your young up-and-coming players that has been garnering a lot of attention. So, I mean, that's 4 out of 11 plus Lucas Hoyos. So literally, 3 or 4 at the back, your keeper and one of your midfielders in a 4-3-3. And so you're having to integrate all of that. You're 3 matches in 34. And you look at And like I said, I'm taking what you're saying, and I'm trying to play off of what you're saying. So I understand what everybody is getting into about, wanting instant results and things like that. So looking at all of these things, all things being equal, I get it. But at the same time, when the head coach is saying it's going to be, it's going to take time, I think that things are better in some aspects in this match than they were in the last one, especially offensively. And we're reinforced by the reminder that Alexei Miranchuk, and Tata Martino said this, he's your best player out there. And having him out there for a full 90 is just as important as anything else. But obviously, yes, there are moments and there are thought patterns that you've got to dismiss. Tristan Muyumba, foul the guy. And I mean, foul him, foul him, foul him. It's a yellow card, professional foul, to make sure that he doesn't get into center circle and start the break going the other way. And that is just literally situational. Barakal, turning the wrong shoulder. He gets committed and he goes one way, and then the player goes off of his right shoulder as he commits to down the line. He comes back and goes the other way. It's situational moments in this with all of these new faces at the back that you're trying to integrate into this. I understand the idea of being patient. Tata tells everybody to be patient. It's going to be a long-term thing, but long-term, could mean whatever. So it's kind of that. It's an all-encompassing term. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. I understand where a lot of folks are coming from here. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to look at things pragmatically when it comes to approach, getting everybody back from injury, getting things integrated offensively, and having everyone at the back, in addition to all the other new faces that are a part of your lineup, get them all figured out. I mean, Matias Gallarz is a new face. He came in and gave you 30. So that's, 6 new faces. You're getting Matthew Edwards back from injury. So, I mean, I understand where folks are coming from, but I can also give you other things to think about going forward.
Yeah, I think the problem in this conversation is where you came from last year. And it's one thing if you were kind of bordering on playoffs or had an early playoff exit, and then you're telling us, hey, there might be a temporary step back as we build what we need to build, and then you're going to see us take off. You're coming from being the second worst team in the Eastern Conference and telling us that this is a long-term project, and we continue to now look like the team that is essentially the second worst team in the Eastern Conference. And you hope that that changes. I know they believe it will change. But the baseline is that we don't know if this team is any better than they were. We don't know if they're going to be any better. And people don't want to sit there and watch another season of 37 games in which, 31 of them are losses or draws. And so it kind of comes from that aspect where, there's concern that it's not just a temporary step back before you step forward, that you can say it's a long-term process and we're going to build. This also just might be what this roster is right now. And you're obviously paying some guys a lot of money and not getting what you need to get from those guys. And a lot of fans might think that you're not going to get any better until you either get the production from those guys or move on from them.
And we were looking at the roster in and of itself, and I think we were doing the math last week, and you're looking at, I think it was close to half the roster, and this is at the end of this season. Half of the roster in this season, when this season is over, you have to make decisions on, are you going to give option years, or are you going to renew folks? There are a couple of folks that have contracts that end in 26. I think Jay Fortune is one of them off the top of the head. And you've got to determine whether or not you want them to come back or not. And so this is one of those seasons where you have a lot of folks that you're going to be making decisions on as the season goes along to get you ready for 27, the sprint in 27, the season flip in 27 and beyond. So this is trying to change a dynamic with players that you're bringing in, with the salary cap constraints that you have, in addition to all of these other factors. And so there's a lot going on that you've got to juggle here, both economically and tactically this season as we're going along. So I think for me, it's a work in progress because of those decisions that have to be made at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think the question is, some of those players are going to be deemed mildly irrelevant, whether you keep them or move on. I think it's still about the same 2 or 3 players who shape your franchise. shape your team.
Mm-hmm.
And if Miggy and Latte Loth can't give you more, there's no level of change in 9 other guys on, the starting lineup or up and down the roster that's going to make up for that. And in the format of the MLS, as you know, John, you're only going to be as good as a franchise as your designated players. And if your designated players aren't getting the job done,
Right.
you're going to struggle as a franchise. And right now, that's where Atlanta United is. And that is why when I say I don't want to hear long-term process, we're not patient, this and that, it is because as much as Tata believes he can turn this around, if as a unit, and this is not a coach thing, this is why, you can question whether it was truly on Ronnie Dyla or Pineda or anyone here. If those 2 guys, specifically Miggy and Latte Loth, aren't going to be good enough, then I don't think there's any sort of managerial tactics that Tata can get past, right? I just think that in this league, you are set up to where you're allowed these numbers of serious contracts from outside players, and they have to be the best 3 players on your team, or at least the most important or significant positionally, depending on what you choose to do. And that's not the discussion here in Atlanta. It just isn't. And so if those 2 guys up in the attack aren't good enough, I think there's a cap on this season. I think there's a cap on the potential of this roster. And there's nothing that you can do transactionally, in my opinion, outside of them that is going to really have a significant enough difference. And so I think that's the concern for a lot of people, myself included right now, is just, change the roster, bring in new players. That's all fine. But if those guys at the top aren't able to get the job done, ultimately, it's just not going to be enough.
Yep. And so Alexei Miranchuk gets the brace. Latte Loth with an assist. We'll go through the numbers, obviously, first couple of days of this week that you're getting ready for everything. And now you got to prepare for Philly coming to town, and Philadelphia comes at you stylistically different than what we saw with RSL. And we know what they bring to the table, and it's going to be a new interesting challenge because of the philosophy that is going to be different than what we saw from RSL coming into town next weekend as the homestand continues with match 2 of 6 of 7, 5 of 6 now that are going to be at home, where you got to make some hay before the international break.
Well, here's what's interesting to me about this whole idea, right? And if we're going to say it's a long-term process, and now I'm going to talk into some acceptance of losing games here. You've got to do your game.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to play your style. This is not a team right now at Atlanta United that is able to adjust and kind of maneuver based on who they're playing, because they don't have their own identity, their own style figured out yet. And so I don't think you can change too much of what your roles are, what you're being asked to do, because you're still working on them. You're still figuring that out.
Right.
And if I were Tata, I don't think you're making severe adjustments here based on what San Jose does versus what Real Salt Lake does versus what Philly does. I think you've got to just keep playing your game and figure that out first, right? Start to learn that like the back of your hand before you then start to adjust off of that. So, yes, Philly's going to give you a different look, but I don't know if you can do anything differently in-house now, because you're not really there yet. It's not common knowledge or an afterthought or second nature how he wants you to play. And I think we saw that in part of the issues on Saturday night. And so I don't think really you can risk changing anything right now. Does that put you in a worse position maybe against an opponent? Does it set you up for another home loss? Maybe. But if we're going to buy into this long-term plan, if we're going to buy into it's going to take time and you have to be patient, then you're going to have to take the losses here, because and hopefully maybe it's not a loss. Anything can happen. That's the other part of this. I can touch on just finishing and creating chances, all that stuff. But if you're going to take those steps forward, eventually, ultimately, you have to have who you are, what you do as a team down pat. They don't have that yet, so they can't adjust off of that. I think if you try and do that too much, you risk really losing yourself.
Yep, and we'll see that as we get ready for preps with Philly. And it will be you and Nick Alifi coming up on Saturday for full-time report. Matt, you and Maddie early, and you and Nick late. So looking forward to hearing that. I will be in Macon for the high school basketball championships with a suit and a tie, and listening to you from the Macon Coliseum. So
And your brand new haircut, can't forget that.
you ain't kidding, brother. There ain't a whole lot up there after the haircut. It's like they have like the little breakdown, of like what it was last time, and they take that number, and that's like, okay, so you were a 2 last time, and so that means that basically we take the razor and we sit there and we just make it about that long and just shear the whole thing off, and the whole mass looks like a tribble, and it walks off on its own power. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for batting lead off. And how are you healthily? How are you with the recovery with everything?
Honestly, not as great as I thought. I ran a 5K yesterday, and just over a mile. Yeah, just over a mile in, my right quad kind of told me it did not want to run up hills with any power or speed. Not an injury, nothing like that. I just think it's still fatigued, and I could tell. So I was kind of stuck jogging up the hills as opposed to racing up the hills. And since it was a race, I would have preferred to have been racing up the hills, but I still got an age group win. So that's something.
That's strong. All right, my friend, we will. I'll be listening, and I will catch up with you again this time next week.
You got it. Thanks, John.
There goes Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game. And to Abe's point right now with all these changes, you got to focus on you. You got all these changes going on with all these folks in starting lineup and everything. Get you right first. Alexei Madanchuk playing 90 minutes. He's 90 minutes fit, and 90 minutes in, he played a full 90. And I know that there were a lot of folks that might have been concerned about, is Alexei going to be able to go a full 90? Jason caught up with Alexei after the match, and here was what Alexei Madanchuk had to say after his performance on Saturday night.
Physically, how are you feeling physically after going 90 today?
This is my first 90. Feel good. But obviously to be in the tonus, I need more time.
In your opinion, Tata Martino's talked about control a lot, controlling games a little bit more. What is the missing element in the team right now to control games more?
I mean, if I will have statistic right now with me, I think we will see numbers. From my perspective, we control the game. We won the game on the ball. I like the movement. I like the connection between each other. We need to be careful when we lose the ball in a bad spot and the opponent can counterattack.
Being careful and being in control, and make sure that when you have that turnover, that it doesn't turn into what happened on the weekend. Alexei Madanchuk with Jason after the match, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. And so getting into the evening of Alexei Madanchuk, his numbers, 9.2 according to our friends at SofaScore. And for Alexei, it was a 0.76 in the XG. And if you add his expected goals on target of 1.29, he exceeded that. So 2 goals, 3 shots, 2 shots on target on the day for Alexei. Then passing numbers for Alexei, expected assists 0.28, 3 key passes on the day. He had 3 attempted crosses successful in one of those, 86% passing, 84% in the attacking half. And he was successful on 1 long ball as well, 83 touches on the day. And it was 36 carries and progressive carrying distance of 88 meters. Longest progressive carry was 28 meters on the day. And then defensive numbers, when he was asked to double back, he did have 1 tackle, 1 full recoveries, and he did win a duel on the night. And so Alexei Madanchuk obviously getting the goals in the match. So here was the call of goal number 1 for Alexei Madanchuk in 2026. Once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Mike and Jason on the call.
Squared. Behind center circle to Moyemba, plays it into the circle to Maranchuk. He turns and dribbles into the RSL half now. Down the right channel where he plays it to Jakob. Centers it to Almiron, who drops it back 40 yards from goal. Maranchuk in the central channel. Flicks it backwards to Moyemba. Back in front of center circle to Moranchuk, to Moyemba again. Squared off to the right to Alzate. Down the right wing to Yacob on the edge of the attacking third. Drop back again to Moyemba. Squared in front of center circle. Moranchuk now going down the left wing. Here's Sanchez playing it ahead to Almiron. Cut back cross. Moranchuk shot. Score! It feels like the weight has been lifted off everyone's shoulders. Atlanta United gets their first goal of the season in the 38th minute from Alexei Moranchuk.
That was goal number 1 for Alexei that made it 2-1. Then RSL scored again to make it 3-1. And then in the second half, Atlanta United tries for the comeback. They get one back to make it 3-2 with still about 20 minutes to get some work done. Here was goal number 2 for Moranchuk on the night.
Sergio Santos is one.
Sergio
Saba
Santos
is the other.
There you go. Atlanta with the ball off the restart. Here's Galaza rolling it through to Almiron. Left side of the 18, canceled out for a throw, and a good play by Quinton in the near corner. 73rd minute, Atlanta trailing 3-1. Thrown back into the midfield, Moyemba. Heavy touch, traps, gives it to Baez on the touchline. Roll through to Alzate. Cut back cross to no one. Canceled out for a throw by RSL on the near touchline.
It's a cutback cross to no one. There's no one there. There was no one to play it to outside of just forcing it across the goal and hitting and hoping.
From center spot now, here's Mahai. Bouncing it down the middle to Moyemba. Driven ahead. Rolled through to Latte Lot. 1v the keeper. Dribbles in. Here's his cross the back post. Shot! Score! Alexei Moranchuk! Still with plenty of time, now trailing 3-2.
There was goal number 2 for Moranchuk on the night, and so Alexei finishes with 2 and a 9.2 courtesy, doing the math from our friends at SofaScore. On the night, starting lineup for Atlanta United, Lucas Hoyos in net. Line four at the back was Elias Baez, Juan Bercall, and Amy High, and Tomas Jacob. Midfielder Cooper Sanchez, Tristan Mullumba, and Steven Alzate. And your forwards were, in the attack, it was Miggy, Latte Lot, and Alexei Moranchuk. Tata Martino was asked after the match a couple of different things and what he saw from the match in and of itself. And Tata was asked what he saw from Mihai and from Bercall. It gives him hope that they can put the team in positions to win games. Quoting Tata, we had a problem in the first 2 matches. Today we had a different problem, which was the mistakes. We improved a lot in our play, in my view, but we failed with individual mistakes. And we did get into that in the first half hour, obviously with Tristan Mullumba, and then Bercall getting turned around as the activity was going down the right-hand side. He gets turned. He turns toward the touch line. Player goes around the right shoulder and creates the activity that eventually ends up in the goal. So then Tata says, now we have to work on that, on the growth in the team's play and the mistakes that cost the team today. And then folks were wondering about lineup changes and things like that. First thing I said, that when a team loses 3 matches is that you have to make changes. 11 changes, 9 changes, 10 changes. You have to make changes when you think there's a player who is better than another, and in the spots where you think there will be a jump in quality. It's not about numbers. There's another analysis that has to be done. It's not just a question about numbers. It's also about protecting the players, because in a situation like this, where the team loses 3 straight games, when you make a lot of changes, we run the risk of those that enter just for the sake of changing and to give an image to the outside don't perform adequately, and we sacrifice those coming out of the team. There's a moment when we're going to run out of players to put in because you have to permanently change, end quote. Tata was asked about the positives from the match. He says, today we improved a lot. We elaborated our play much better, in my opinion. Today was a team that should have won the game, simply put, for me. Then we made mistakes. We'll work on the mistakes, but the production of the team today has absolutely nothing to do with the game against FC Cincinnati, where we competed well, but didn't play well, and certainly better than our last match against San Jose. Today, the team had good circulation, had scoring chances. We scored 2 goals and had good possession. It was absolutely a better team that way. We took a giant step forward. Of course, saying that about a defeat is much more difficult. That's why the result is so important, because otherwise the perception that the team is improved is lost. And so that I think is when you look at the positives, and that's what Tata Martino said after the match. Of course, saying that about taking a giant step forward, of course, saying that about a defeat is much more difficult. That's why the result is so important, because otherwise the perception that the team improved is lost. And so that's Tata Martino after the match against RSL. You heard from Alexei Miranchuk and what his thoughts were after the match. Maddie and Jason also caught up with Tristan Muyumba after the match as well. And here are Tristan's thoughts on what happened in the loss.
Game back and forth, a lot of momentum swings. Just how did it feel with them being on top for a while, you guys being on top for a while?
A lot of disappointment. When we reviewed the game, the performance wasn't too bad because we had the ball. We create opportunity. We want to have the ball. We want to be proactive, to play in their half. And that's what we did today. But we have also to be stronger defensively. Everyone, it's about the reaction when you're losing the ball. We start from the attackers, from the midfielders, and also the defenders. And yeah, so that's the problem of today, about the reaction, and don't let the opponent to get confidence and to expose our defense in 1v1. Yeah.
And there's moments where a team like RSL is so good in transition. How do you combat that?
I think it's about the main marking. When you have to board the ball, you have to be aware about where the opponent is, and to be ready for as soon the play is over to react and to be one step ahead of the opponent. Yeah.
Tata talked a lot about the build-up play this week for you guys and connecting some of those dots. How do you think the team, especially today, took a step forward, especially in finding some more of those moments and being more connected and together on the field?
Yeah, we've been working a lot during the preseason on the build-up. Even this week, we try to get back to the basic, to the simple stuff, to create like some automatism and I work a lot on it. I think we did well. We, like I said, we create a lot. We had the ball on their half, even when they came and they pressed us. We find a way to progress and to be on their half. And yeah, that's a good point. We have to keep it and to build on this type of thing.
Tristan Muyumba with Jason and Maddie after the match on Saturday night. And so that is the early thoughts when it comes to the players and post-game and everything like that. And I know that you guys are having a rather spirited conversation, which is what we love when you guys get to have the back and forth here 5 days a week, and especially on Reaction Mondays when I know that there's a lot on your mind. And I love the fact that you guys are going back and forth this morning as a part of all of that. So other numbers of note, in addition to the mentioning that Alexei Miranchuk was a 9.2 from our friends at SofaScore. Obviously, highest ranking for Atlanta United players on the day. So it was a slightly higher XG for RSL. Total shots 16-11 for Atlanta United. Keeper saves, it was 3 for Rafa Cabral compared to 1 for Lucas Hoyos. 16 fouls, and 12 of them were called on Atlanta United. That I thought was interesting, to say the very least. You had an even number of tackles, 15 aside, and 5 yellows in the match. And you had 3 of those on RSL and 2 of them for Atlanta United. It was yellow cards for, let me break this down, because it was a yellow for Cooper Sanchez. It was a yellow for Juan Barracol, And then it was yellows for Hezerkani and Gozo. Hezerkani, his yellow was on the Miguel Almiron grab as he was trying to prevent Miggy from getting into the attacking half, basically grabbing onto the jersey and not letting go of it. Miggy fought through that, and ref played advantage, and you ended up with a chance for Miguel Almiron in that opportunity. But that's the difference from Hezerkani and from Tristan Muyumba in that situation. So Hezerkani got the yellow and slowed Miguel down, even though advantage was played and Miggy fought through it. So it was Hezerkani and Gozo, and who was the third? Luka Moisa. So it was the three of your youngins, Hezerkani, Gozo, and Luka Moisa, and it was Cooper Sanchez and Juan Barracol getting your yellows for John Freeman in that match, no relation. Then other high-ranking folks, since we heard from Tristan Muyumba on the day, it was for Tristan. He had 2 key passes on the day, 103 of 108 on the day at 95%, 93% in the opposing half at 54 of 58. He had 3 accurate long balls on the evening. Also for Tristan, it was total carrying distance, obviously in the positive there, progressive distance at about 14 meters total on 30 carries. And then defensively for Tristan, 3 defensive contributions, 1 pick, 1 block, 8 recoveries. He did have a ground duel win as well on the evening. Then Elias Baez had some strong time. Miguel Almiron, let's get into Miggy's numbers since he punched a 7.6. It was 0.28 for XG and expected goals on target on 5 total shots. 1 of those was on target. 3 of those shots were blocked from Miggy. And it was 2 crosses, 1 key pass for Miggy, 83% passing at 38 of 46. On the dribble, Miguel Almiron had 77 touches, 2 for 3 on the dribble, 24 times he was dispossessed, but he had a total carrying distance of 300 meters on the day. And defensively for Miggy, he even had 2 defensive contributions, 2 tackles, 1, 6 of 11 on the ground in duels, and he had 5 recoveries on the day. Then Elias Baez came through with a 7.1 highest number on the back line, and it was for Baez, 12 defensive contributions for Elias Baez, 6 for 6 on tackles, which is strong. I cannot remember the last time I saw a number that was that large and that successful. 2 picks, 4 clears, 8 recoveries, 13 of 18 on his duels, 9 of 13 on the ground, 4 of 5 in the air for Elias Baez. So strong defensively for him on the evening. 99 touches for Elias Baez, 2 successful dribbles on the day, and his total carrying distance on 14 carries, a little over 90 meters. So Elias Baez continuing to get accustomed and get acquainted to everything that he is being asked to do by Tata Martino. He even had an XG that actually registered. So it was a 0.09, but nevertheless, 2 shots and 1 shot blocked. So Elias Baez had the highest numbers on the run when it came to the back line. Barracol 6.4, Mihai a 6.1, and Tomas Jacob had a 5.9. Alzate had a 6.6, playing a more advanced position in the midfield. And Cooper Sanchez, once again, at a 6.3, just to give you Cooper's numbers as, once again, one of the young talents for United, not afraid of any kind of competition that's going on that is a lot older than he is. He went 60 minutes, basically 59. Matias Galarza came in. We'll get to Galarza's numbers in a bit in 30 minutes. But for Cooper, 2 key passes on the day, 88% passing at 50 of 57. On the dribble, it was 68 touches, and he had a total progression of just under 74 meters. Defensively for Cooper Sanchez on the day, he had 1 contribution, 6 recoveries. He did win a ground duel on the afternoon. We did see in the final 30 minutes, we saw the debut of Matias Galarza. And I think there's a lot to look at when it comes to Galarza going forward. It was 86% passing of 19 to 22 in 31 minutes. On the dribble, he had 28 touches, and he had a total progression of 29 meters, 28.6. Defensively for Matias Galarza in 30 minutes, basically 2 defensive contributions, 1 a tackle, had a pick, 2 recoveries, 2 for 3 on his ground duel. So we'll see how it was for we'll see how it goes for Matias Galarza as Philadelphia comes to town. Like I said, we're going to catch up with Dave Leno at some point this week, later on in the week, for opposition research, and we'll get his thoughts on what's going on with Philly going forward so far this year. But with RSL, you saw a team that had 7 absences, and so you knew that with that lineup that the relationships when it came to figuring out passing and such, it was, it's not that innate knowledge of, okay, I'm going forward, I have the ball, I know where the folks around me are going to go. So to the point that we've heard about here in hour number 1, the transition opportunities were going to be what it was creating the success for RSL. You look at momentum and possession and who was in charge of play. If you go and look at the numbers in the first 45, it is short of one stretch in the 20s where Atlanta United was in charge in the first half when it came to hanging onto the ball and dominating phase of play. But you end up with turnovers and creating opportunities for RSL that were in transition. The one, once you have the goal that was created when it goes off of the block and it heads back the other way, once again, the Tristan Muyumba play, that was a transition opportunity. You end up with goal number 2, transition opportunity. And you end up with goal number 3. It was being clinical in those moments for RSL when they would get the ball. And this is what Pablo Mastroeni was looking for when it came to play, what they're looking for RSL. If you don't have your starting 11 there, you have no Yedlin, you have no Luna, you have no Olatunji, no Arias, and so on. It is pressure to create opportunities, and if off of misses and blocks you get them going back the other way, then that's what you end up with. The goals themselves, you look at the Hezerkani goal, and Hezerkani distanced himself. He just kind of gave a bit of a stiff arm for off of an AME high to give himself literally maybe 18 inches. And it was a shot that I don't think anybody could have gotten. So, you tip your hat to Hezerkani and you move on after that one. And then the Gozo goal, Gozo ends up cutting it into the inside, and he goes far netting with it. And I don't think Lucas Hoyos could have gotten that one either. And so you see the talent that RSL has in-house under the age of 22, and coming from Xavier Gozo and coming from Hezerkani. And you look at that and you sit there and you tip your hat. And Solon's obviously also was a part of it too. And young talent is there for RSL. And until everybody comes back healthy, anticipate that when you watch RSL that this is how they're going to try to create their opportunities. And when you have just shots that can't be stopped from 2 of your younger players in Hezerkani and Gozo, you tip your hat in those moments. So 3 goals on the board for Salt Lake. Atlanta comes back 3-2, and they had about 15 or 20 minutes to try to, if you add time, 20 minutes to try to get the equalizer. And then once again, in control of it, and RSL's pretty much just trying to hang on at that point. And Atlanta United, trying to chase after that equalizer, they don't get it. It ends up 3-2, and you're 0-3. So that's where you are right now. Philadelphia is coming to town, and it is it's going to be a challenge with Philly. Like I said, we'll have Dave Leno, our buddy, coming in, and he'll be discussing things, all things Union, coming up later in the week to break things down for them as they get ready for this matchup on the road. Like I said, we know what they bring to the table. They're going to be difficult. They're going to be physical. How does Atlanta United push through all of that and try to figure out a way to navigate through all of that? And also, Philadelphia has CONCACAF Champions Cup on Tuesday night against Club America. So they go Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. And it's Saturday afternoon. Remember, Saturday afternoon, 3:25 start at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But Philadelphia is going Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. 3 matches in a week. And we'll see what the lineup looks like for them coming into the matchup with Atlanta United, where they lose to San Jose at Subaru Park by the score of 1-0. And like I said, this will be a part of our fact-finding mission with Dave Leno and Oppo Research later in the week. But coming off a loss to San Jose, then they're going to CONCACAF Champions Cup, and then they're turning around and coming down to Atlanta for Saturday afternoon at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So the Palace intrigue is in full. It is in full move for both Atlanta United and for Philadelphia for different reasons in coming up with what we're seeing with the season so far after the first 3 match weeks. So we'll be getting into that as the week goes along here, and we'll let you know how it's going. And obviously, more info that we have, we'll let you know what's going on when it comes to practice. I think practice is Tuesday and Thursday. The availabilities are there for the media, and so I think it's going to be Jason who is going to be at media this week early, and I know he's going to be there on Thursday. So keep an eye out for training ground dispatches and training ground reports on the network, and you will get as much intel as Jason can glean this week when it comes to Atlanta United getting ready for everything for a very tough test in Philly. 5 of the next 6 at home for Atlanta United here in the Eastern Conference. So that is the short story on Atlanta United before Bart comes in to talk about things going on with SheBelieves Cup. We'll get into that. We got the USWNT to get into. We've got Yanks Abroad to get into. We may invert the order a little bit because I want to, and I gave Bart, what Bart and I will do on Sundays, just so he can kind of prepare, is I will give him kind of what I'm thinking when it comes to what's going on with my brain about what the topics are. And obviously we got to talk about SheBelieves. We'll talk about SheBelieves. And Bart saw a red card look in Montreal and the Baby Bulls. And I wanted him to look at the second half of the twos match from last night. And what we will also do in these moments is we will ask that you on your Sundays sync up your broadcast. They don't quite have the local radio option yet for MLS NEXT Pro, but sync up your broadcasts with us and with what you're seeing at either One Football or MLS's YouTube channel or MLS NEXT Pro or whatever. So however you want to sync up your broadcast, you can do that. So I may invert the order this time because I want to talk a little bit about the twos win. Bart's in the green room, so he knows where we're going here. I'm not surprising him with this. But it was a back and forth game last night up at the Turner Soccer Complex. And early on for Atlanta United 2, it was Cayman Togashi. And you saw some of the first team bench players that did not get minutes in the matchup against RSL get minutes and starts against Carolina Core as they came down to the Turner Complex last night. Early on, first half, goal number 1, Cayman Togashi, courtesy of, us.
Torres now driving forward into the attacking half. He connects to Dominic Chonkwi on the left. Chonkwi loads up looking for Togashi. Togashi! It's carried forward from Aiden Torres, driving inside the attacking half of the Five Stripes. He lays it out to Dominic Chonkwi on the left flank, and Dominic with the left foot, he's able to send in the cross into Cayman Togashi, and getting down low, he slots it right past Jackson. 1-0 for Atlanta United 2.
Dominic Chonkwi gets into the attacking third down the right off of the ball from Aiden Torres. It's great work by Torres to spring Chonkwi. Perfectly weighted ball to send him in. And I love that Dominic Chonkwi didn't take too long there. He didn't take too many touches. He played it quick. One touch forward, low cross to the near post. Cayman Togashi blasting in at that near post. All he's got to do is slide and redirect it, and that pulls it off. Goal.
Well, so it was 1-0 at that point, and early second half, Core comes back with an equalizer, and then Daniel Chica, ex-Carolina Core, gets goal number 2 for Atlanta United 2 and gives them a lead with about 30 to go.
Cuts around, cuts it back, cuts back onto the other side, cutting inside the middle. He's going to switch it. He's going to find Chica driving in, still driving in. Atlanta United 2, long-range shot from outside, cuts over into the back of the net! And it's Daniel Chica, the right back, driving inside as that ball gets switched over to the right. Daniel Chica drives inside the 18, never gives up on the play, and then he's able to slot it over Jackson into the far side of the goal. 2-1 Atlanta United 2.
He just stays with it. I don't know if Chica is going to goal there. He'll tell you that he was. The ball ends up in the back of the net. I think he's trying to cross, but it was played into the middle. He rides off one challenge. He goes through a second. He dribbles past the third. I think he's trying to cross to the back post to Brennan. It takes a deflection and ends up going over Jackson into the back of the net. 2-1 Atlanta.
And that would eventually be the final score. And this is where in hour number 2, we bring in Bart Keeler. I think I am going to invert the order today. There we go. I think I'm going to invert the order today, Bart, and I want to start with cards and calls because this has stuck with me. Oh, by the way, how much of the second half did you scrub after I texted back and forth with you last night? And he froze. Wait, there.
The feeling my bro back in was Island, the green room.
Yes.
Boy.
Yeah, I know. I blame the green room. Green room is right there with it, and so Maddie is now in. So we'll talk the twos here, and we'll bring in her perspective as well. Maddie, I have officially flipped the order of Bart's segment, where we're going to talk about cards and calls to start,
Okay.
and having to do with what we saw with the twos last night, specifically in the second half. And I played your goal calls for the win against Carolina Core, but considering what we saw in the second half against Carolina Core, this is where I'm thinking that probably flipping the order is best. When it came to, and this I guess is the intro into Bart and his thought patterns here, how would you describe what happened in the second half as an acceleration of what happened in the first half of how Carolina Core tried to take advantage of the situation as best they could? How would you best describe it so Bart can walk us through it?
Oof. I mean, listen, I think Carolina Core is a team, I think, that thrives off of trying to get under your skin.
Mhm.
And I think especially when you look at how the first half played out, it's a lot of, some of those fouls, you're trying to get a rise to the other team. This, and I think Atlanta United 2 handled it well. I think you get to a point, especially with when we talk about referees, I think when we talk about those things, it's about managing a match like that.
Mhm.
And I think for me, like when you were watching it, the first half specifically, I felt like there were a lot of times where, the fouls would come and you would expect certain things. You would expect maybe a card. You would expect that one would be a foul. And then you're sitting there waiting for it and then it doesn't come. But then you don't think it's going to come the next time. And then there is one. It got really inconsistent in the first half.
Mhm.
And then second half, I think it all just kind of fell apart. Because then it was... then it just got wild because then second half, I think you lost complete control because then it got to a point where when Core got the equalizer, then the twos got the second goal, then Carolina became desperate and they kind of were making some moves, doing some things that out of frustration. And it just kind of got all insane and chaotic and it wasn't managed well. I'll say it. I don't think the match was managed well at all. I think that it was very inconsistent, and that's where players got confused with what was going on. You had frustration boiling over. My tipping point was when Jaden got a yellow.
Mhm.
That was my tipping point because you had a situation where basically Jaden grabs the ball. Jaden is in the 18. He's right at that. She's actually on the left side of the 18. I'm actually going to give you a little play-by-play because I remember it because I was so upset about it.
Yep.
Jaden's on the left side of the 18, right towards the edge. You have a Carolina core player. Believe it was Zerkani. But he was standing like around, and he goes up to the edge of the 18. Zerkani's like maybe 5 yards away from him, staring at each other around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically impeding Jaden. Jaden could not launch the ball like he wanted to.
Right.
That's what he was going to do. Now, Jaden could have been maybe kind of mean and could have punted the ball into the back of Zerkani. Jaden didn't do that because it's smart not to do that. So Jaden's trying to do it, but now you got to remember the new rule. Keepers have to let go of the ball within 8 seconds now, or else it's an automatic corner.
Right.
Well, referees watching this whole thing sees that Jaden can't release the ball because everybody's pushed forward, and he's counting down. It gets to 8 seconds.
Yeah.
He then gives the corner. Jaden's like furious, and I don't blame him, and he gets a yellow.
Yeah.
And then what was really funny too was that I think then you had Carolina Core try to set up for an indirect free kick, and it's like, no, it's a corner, guys. Come on, nope. Yeah, and then from there it just all spiraled.
Yes. Okay, so Bart, let me ask you this. So when we were taking our notes and trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to talk about? I said, watch the second half of the match. How much of it did you get to scrub?
I did get to scrub through a good bit.
Okay.
I was able to watch the highlights first and was able to kind of forward button to get through. And I can agree with what Maggie says. It was inconsistent at best.
Inconsistent.
And I think most importantly, it looked like there.
Yeah. And so the reason that I ask you about this is when you have inconsistency and when you have a ref that basically lets control of the match get away from him because of how he sees. I mean, literally, you have a team in core that wants to be physical. They want to push buttons. They want to flop. They want to do all of these things. And you have a match that's out of control. Is there any way to what's the best way to try to regain control if you are the center ref in a situation like this, or is it just lost and you have to hang on here? What goes through your mind in a situation like this? And Bart may have frozen again. I think Bart froze again. So, and this is one thing that we've got to figure out. There you go, Bart. I think I'm hearing you, or at least I'm seeing you pulse, but I can't hear you. And so, okay. So let me duck Bart out here, and we'll see if we can continue with what's going on with Bart. Yeah, we're gonna sit there and look at Bart's computer, and we got to figure out how to work this going forward. But
yeah, no, I don't mean to crash Bart's segment, but listen,
no,
guys,
but it was important. It was going to be a topic. The twos refereeing was going to be something that I was going to get into with him, and the fact that you're here to help navigate it.
And I missed my time slot because daylight savings is not fun.
And I asked. I said in hour number 1, I said our folks kind of, getting hit by daylight saving.
Yes, and the answer is yes.
And by me, absolutely. That is absolutely the case. You had, and like I said, I want to get into the discussion with Bart about, flopping and navigating and trying to sit there. And there were moments where Anthony Sumo Jr. gets a yellow, and then he decides he wants to take a swing at Daniel Chica, and he wants to try to kick at him.
Yeah.
And he should have probably gotten another yellow there. And like I said, this is why I wanted to kind of flip the order with Bart a little bit to kind of sit there and navigate thought processes with center refs and things like that.
And now listen, I'll give the referee a little bit of grace with that one, just because where it is, I went back and watched that a little bit too. The referee isn't in a position where he can see that happen. So to give him some credit. Now, here's the other part of it though, is that the AR on that side is watching that whole thing. There should have I feel like someone should have seen it. Yeah, I just think it's one of those situations where it can, yeah, it's just not, not fun.
No, and it was an adventure. It literally was, color your own adventure playbook last night at times, with the inconsistency that was there. And we talked to Jose Silva about it after the match, about how they navigated. You have a lot of younger players navigating that inconsistency and doing well in that, because sometimes sometimes the calls are not gonna you're not gonna be able to get a read on anything. And Jose addressed that with us after the match, where they handled themselves in a very mature manner in a game that was trying to be steered out of control by core, with how they were trying to navigate things, knowing that yellows were getting dialed up, because I think it was 5 of the last 7 yellows in the match went to Atlanta United too.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those that they navigated really well. And Jose talked about it after the match, and obviously we'll hear from Jose later on in the week. But they navigated a situation that could have really impacted younger players. I think they handled it really well.
Oh, for sure. Well, and then, like, I think you even go back to I'm trying to remember if the Anthony Sumo yellow was before or after Jaden got the yellow. I don't know. I want to say it was before, because I think me and Jason were dialed up at that point. Because, so again, we'll paint the picture again if you hadn't had a chance to watch or listen. Basically, Luke gets brought down in a collision, and he's down behind the play. Atlanta's in possession. Atlanta's looking at them to say stop the play to let the trainers come on. Ref says, you have the ball, you decide what you want to do. And so Atlanta has to kick the ball out over the touchline for a throw-in.
Mm-hmm.
So they do. Luke gets checked out. Everything's good. But then, so it's Core's throw-in. Now, it's just, a nice thing in the sense, especially in those situations when, that happens, the opponent will just do the throw-in. It'll be brought all the way back to Atlanta because Atlanta was in possession when it happened.
Yeah.
That gets happen. Throw-in happens. And it goes all the way to Jaden. Well, Anthony Sumo decides to press Jaden to try to win the ball back. And then when Jaden grabs the ball in his 18, Anthony Sumo is then pushing and, getting in his face and doing all of that. And then he gets a yellow for it. And he looks shocked that he gets the yellow for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's common courtesy in a game when something like that happens, when you have to knock it out over the end line. You throw it back into the team. You throw it back into the opponent that had the possession initially, and you let it continue there. Done and done.
Mm-hmm.
What doesn't happen is your striker doesn't press the keeper when it happens in that situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally, for me, I honestly think it was not handled well from the very start, especially with the situation of Carolina Core is a team that's going to get under your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, they remind me a lot of, I think, Philadelphia in that way, where they're a team that's going to get under your skin, and they're going to be very physical in those situations, and that's just what they're going to do. And then they're going to be really quick and deadly on the transition, and that's what Core was. Atlanta handled themselves really well when it came to that. But I think from the very beginning, there were a lot of things that were inconsistent, especially when it came to a lot of the calls. A lot of the yellows, a lot of those moments. It got really inconsistent in the first half, and I was a little bit unsure. And I'm assuming the players were also unsure too, because that's what happens. Players then get confused as to what fouls, what's going to get called, what's not.
Right.
Second half, I think especially after the equalizer, it kind of just got dialed up. And you had a lot of those situations, and it just continued to get worse and worse and worse, and no management was there.
Yeah.
But I thought the Twos handled it well. I thought the Twos handled it really well. And even especially with these young guys, you need a game like that, because there's going to be games like that. And I think the Twos handled themselves well, and they were able to get the job done and get 3 points.
All right, Bart, you got your ears on. Alternate device.
I mean, we'll see if this works, John.
It does. It's solid. Okay, but I do want to troubleshoot your tomb.
John, I use Restream to record my own podcast. I have no issues like this. I had no issues in the green room. I blame that I had to actually talk to you, and then it started to say no.
Yeah.
And now you can't see that I'm wearing my old gold and blue to celebrate the Mountaineers winning the Big 12 Women's Basketball Championship. You can't even see that I'm drinking out of the Carolina Core mug that I got when I was up at High Point last year to celebrate the fact that we're talking about them losing a game to us.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. So,
You
but
painted the picture very nicely, though, Bart.
yes.
I see it in my mind.
Yeah. So, all right. So, thank you for alternate devicing here. How much of the second half were you able to scrub?
So yeah, I watched the highlights and then I was like, okay, let me just go watch the actual second half and kind of scrub through as the like unimportant bits. Because you can hit that fast forward button to get through all the unimportant stuff. And I think, as I tried to say, it just looked like a referee who didn't want to be there anymore. Maybe his shoes were wet. Maybe, he was annoyed by some of the teenagers being a little teenagery. I don't know. As Maddie said, Carolina Core, their number one focus in any game is to annoy the crap out of anyone who's involved. And so maybe that what played into it as well. But it just looked like a referee who didn't know what type of match they wanted to call. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Didn't know if he needed to be tight with the whistle. Didn't know if he needed to let players play. And then I'm sure we'll talk about, granted, it didn't matter in the end, I guess, but a defining moment toward the end with, the application of the laws of the game. And I'd love to actually discuss it because unfortunately for Jaden Hibbert,
yes,
I do have, I'm not coming here to defend him. I'll put it that way.
Okay, well, and I know that, and Maddie had stated her case, and so I will yield the floor to the two of you. Bart, state your case here and count pointer count when it comes to 8 seconds.
The 8-second countdown starts when the goalkeeper is in control of the ball. That is the term that we use.
Okay.
So a goalkeeper is considered to be in control of the ball when their hand or arm is the ball is between their hands or arm or between their hands and arms at any surface. Example, the ground, holding the ball in their outstretched hands and including bouncing it on the ground, throwing it in the air. So basically what Jaden unfortunately did was, ball is rolling back and he's doing the whole time wasting thing, gonna wait to pick it up. Yes, the defender comes to challenge him. He picks it up. At that point, our 8 seconds start.
Okay.
And I don't think he was truly challenged for the ball after that. I'm sorry to say. The defender was a couple of yards away, which is where they're kind of supposed to be. No, you're not allowed to challenge the goalkeeper when the ball is in their hands or in their control, technically. But it just, to me, did not meet the criteria of Jaden being unable to distribute the ball or get the ball out of his hands within an 8-second time period, especially when that 8 seconds starts when he grabs and picks up the ball.
Okay.
And I am sympathetic because there is a guy standing in front of him, but the guy is about 3 yards away. And until he actually does make a move to challenge for the ball, he's allowed to be there. He's not even in the penalty area. And so that to me is kind of the, as a referee,
yeah,
and this is where goalkeeper union and referee union are fighting in my brain. As a referee, I go, I don't know what you want me to do here, man. I've been counting for 8 seconds. And to be fair, I started counting and it kind of was about 9 seconds because he did kind of give him a little bit of a, okay, I'll let you pick up the ball and stand up and then start your move. So I just think it came down to Jaden thought he was going to get the benefit of the doubt and he didn't.
Yep. And so you had that moment, and that raised the ire and rancor of a lot of folks in Athens. And then when you have a team that is there to drive you crazy, when it comes to giving back-to-back yellows, and I mean like instantaneous back-to-back yellows. So if somebody does something and you give them a yellow card, what's the parameter for you specifically to go back to back without having any fear of doing it? Or do you give benefit of the doubt in a situation like that, provided you're seeing what's going on? Like I said, I don't know if the center ref actually saw the swing that Anthony Sumo took at Daniel Chica after he got the yellow. But when it comes to giving back-to-back yellows, what's your guidepost mentally for doing something like that?
Well, I actually think it can be easier in some cases because, bro, I just gave you a yellow card. Why you still?
Why you be that way?
Right. Like, it's a little bit like, when mom or dad is giving you the countdown, they say, all right, when I count to 3, you better do this. And then, like, you don't do it. And they're like, I told you. You're already in trouble. Now you're in double trouble.
2.5, 2 3/4.
Right. And so I think, I've my line usually is, I'll say, I just gave you a yellow card. It's still out. Like, my trick is always just have that yellow card handy. I don't put it back in until we're done with this conversation because it is a visual reminder. Hey, it's still here. It's still waiting for you. And in this case, it did feel like, I think to your point, I don't know if the referee could fully see what happened.
Yeah.
And that's just because, again, you can't see everything on the field. So I don't know what he was thinking about for a quick in succession yellow card. Right. But typically you don't want to give 2 in a row like that. You do want to try to manage the situation. We are taught to try to manage the situation rather than just going to the yellow card for things beyond automatic yellows. Like, I think the possible physical issue could have been an automatic yellow.
Yeah.
And I say possible just because, again, I'm with you. I don't know how much the referee was able to, like,
see through
the smoke,
through the fog of the forest and everything.
But you can infer that something that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're just on a little bit higher alert. But I think it's fair to say that the core player was a little lucky there.
Yes, absolutely true. Maddie, what else is on your mind from a refereeing standpoint from what you saw last night, whether it's tendencies or anything else that's stuck in your head?
Yeah, no, I'll go back because I was actually curious myself and looking back at what happened with Jaden, because it's interesting as well, because I understand where you're coming from, Bart. My issue with it is it puts Jaden in a position, because it says when it couldn't get control of the ball, which Jaden takes it to the corner. It's time wasting. It happens in the game. Course keeper would have done the same thing. When he picks up the ball, Zerkani's right there. As Jaden's walking to the front, Zerkani's still on his back. He's not going to punt the ball then. He gets to the top of the 18. Zerkani's a couple yards away. Whenever Jaden moves, he's screening him. He's right in front of him there. My issue there with that is, what is Jaden supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? Because he's being screened. If he's going to punt the ball, more than likely it's probably going to hit the core player in the face, or it's going to hit something. That's going to cause a whole scuffle as well. You're kind of baiting Jaden a little bit too, in the sense of, hey, buddy, what are you going to do now? Because what's Jaden supposed to do? He's being screened. He can't punt the ball. He pushed.
No, and I understand what exactly the issue is. The problem for Jaden is that countdown. That countdown starts when he has control of the ball. It doesn't stop or start just because there's a player in front of him. Now, if there is a player actively stopping him from releasing the ball, right? And we see this a lot of times, especially now in the Premier League, which is becoming really annoying, where players will literally stand and be touching the goalkeeper. That did not happen here. And I think that's kind of the, like, yes, he is in the way, but it's very much like a sibling saying, I'm not touching you, when they're like clearly an inch from your face. Like yes, it's annoying, but it's not actually something that in the laws of the game we're allowed to be like, well, there's a player who may or may not be close to you, so I'll let you start this countdown over. It just unfortunately just doesn't work like that in this application. mainly just because he still has control of the ball. He has a lot of options on how to distribute the ball beyond just punting it at someone's face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand it's annoying, but annoying doesn't discount that he had the ball for 9 seconds in his hands.
Yes. And here's where I push back on it is that when Jaden came to the corner of the goal, he held it. Zerkani was still in the box with Jaden, almost shoulder to shoulder with him. Again, pushing people forward. Zerkani takes his sweet time getting to the top and outside of the 18 as well. And again, I point back to another situation, and this goes back to the inconsistency of the refereeing. Liam Butts did almost the exact same thing on the other side. Referee signaled for Liam to push back and get out of the way for Jackson.
Yeah.
That's where I have the issue.
And I think that's where I do agree that the referee or the AR could have very easily said, hey, back it up. Mm-hmm. There was a mismanagement of that from the crew, sure. But again, that would have been a kind thing to do. And not necessarily something that is necessitated by the laws of the game. And certainly, again, with this is not something that the laws of the game say, well, there's a player who happens to be in the penalty area, so therefore the goalkeeper doesn't have to play it. That's not here. And it just, again, unfortunately for Jaden, he thought he was going to get the benefit of the doubt. He thought the referee was going to be nice to him, and the referee, I think, if I'll call Jaden naive a little bit, trusting this referee after 90 minutes, especially, but like the 45 that we just played, was a little foolish. And not blaming Jaden. I'm just saying Jaden does need to be a little smarter there and kind of realize, like, I need to just kind of like just punt the ball away. Or, again, there are other distribution options. You can throw the ball to a teammate. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, he can't punt it. Well, he could have. It's not necessarily disrupting his ability to release the ball. And I know that's not an answer anyone here wants to hear, but that's just the reality of what we're looking at from a referee standpoint.
But that's why we bring you in, so we can have the understandings of the laws of the game and how they would apply in certain situations, and how refs may or may not be thinking when it comes to distribution and ideas and how they implement things out of their own head with the laws of the game and such. Maddie, anything else on your mind from the match?
Oh, I don't know. I kind of want to forget that refereeing ever happened.
Yeah,
I mean, here's my thing. I think I would be more pissed off if it had somehow managed to make the twos not win, because I think the twos played well. I think listen, you have the goal, you have the mistake that's made that leads to Carolina Core's equalizer. Yep. I think the only big threatening chance they had was in the first half when Jaden had to dive a little bit low to push it out. Other than that, I mean, Atlanta United 2 didn't really give them much, and they handled it well. I mean, so listen, I would have been more upset if because it's my biggest thing is I don't think a referee should decide a match, and and it didn't get to that point, which I'm glad it didn't. I think there could have been a lot of times where Atlanta could have let their anger and emotion get the best of them, and it would have been a very insane situation, and they didn't. They kept their composure. Core was trying to get a rise. That didn't happen. They got more frustrated, still didn't get a rise, and Atlanta was able to win, come out on top.
Yep. So your week with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, are you up there on Tuesday?
I am not there Tuesday. I got to take my mother to the airport.
Okay. Oh, well, then as things continue to progress, try and recover from daylight saving time, and
I'll try, guys.
Yeah, jump in whenever you wish. We'll catch up with you, Maddie. Thanks
for
dropping
by. Always do. All right. See y'all.
All right, there goes Maddie. Maddie, much like me, is a part of the Daylight Saving Time Unappreciation Society.
John, I had to referee yesterday at 9 a.m., which is not like that's a perfectly normal start time for us. Luckily, it's not a tournament where we start at 8 a.m. Cool. But, that already then was going to be impacted by the daylight savings time, because you lose an hour. So instead of waking up, and we have to be there, 45 minutes early. So, and it's up and coming, and, so it's like, okay, planning it out. It's like, well, normally, yeah, sure. I wake up around 6:50. I leave my place by about 7:30. Run to the Dunkin' Donuts, get my breakfast and my coffee, and we're up there and we're in no time. But that alarm did wake me up a little bit too early. On top of the fact that John, I don't know if you were there or watched it, but there was a pretty exciting soccer game on that I was at before then, and then left me with a lot of feelings that I had to wrestle with while not able to sleep on Saturday night. So I don't know if you talked about that already on this show. But,
well, and the Twitch pitch has done their standard. Monday
well, hey, John, at least the club is selling tickets with no fees, so that'll make everything better.
Wow, I was not aware of that.
They announced that this morning. They put out an email saying like they're doing the whole like 24 or 48 hour no fees on ticket purchases thing. So if you want to go to a game, you don't have to pay your Ticketmaster fees.
And Ticketmaster is another.
Still have to watch Atlanta United, but at least we'll pay.
Yes, yeah. There you go. I feel like I need to have like a zinger sound effect.
John, I pay a lot more money to watch Atlanta United. So who's the fool? I mean,
well, no, you are there to have and preserve your space in moments as seasons go. I would ask. I should probably do this tomorrow. But okay, so opening kickoff tomorrow. I will give people notice today that this is opening kickoff tomorrow. What do people think of the 96-26 closing line?
I love it. I love it, John. So there's my take. I love it.
I'm in serious trouble.
I'm actually mad at how good it is because I don't like. First off, it's just so uniquely Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're one of only 3 cities in this country to host the Summer Olympics. One of them being St. Louis when it wasn't even technically a standalone event. It was part of the World's Fair. And I don't even know if St. Louis has any relics from that anymore. And then obviously LA, which will host it for the 4th time.
78th time.
Yeah, I know. But, that is a unique and proud moment in our history. So like that alone is cool. And everyone loves the Atlanta 96 gear to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is it's gorgeous. So yeah, that can be your Twitch pitch topic for tomorrow. But I wanted to give you I love it. I love it.
So tomorrow morning, I will re-ask the question so folks can have their thoughts and have them ready for us tomorrow morning at 9:05. I was looking at the gear and I was at the, obviously what they said in the team store was that they were not opening the team store for purchase until the gates were open.
Yeah.
So the line to get into the team store to get the gear was wrapped around 3 or 4 separate snake lines when they opened the door. And they admitted that they had underestimated the demand on the quarter zip.
Yeah.
1 per person. Literally, you walk in the door and it's 1 per person. And
it's beautiful, John. It is beautiful.
And Patty has already stolen it. So
good. Okay. Well, remember, John, what's hers is hers, and what's yours is hers too.
Correct. And so I ended up getting the sweatshirt, which I didn't know existed until I walked in the door.
Oh yeah, mine got the sweatshirt as well. He bought the jersey and the sweatshirt, and I was like, all right, well, we're dropping some coin tonight.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just make sure that you wear it on air so you can write it off at points.
Unfortunately, he's an extra small, and I'm not. So
wow.
I don't think I'll be able to wear that. But I do plan on getting it. I'll just I'll wear multiple. I'll wear all the pieces so I can write it off.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's insane, and I'm in trouble, and the credit card is smoking.
Oh man, yes.
She believes. We have to get into this.
She believes hard this week, John.
You did, and it was. I mean, it was out there, man, and it was one of those moments and matches where you're like, this is getting kind of antsy here. And it took a goal in the 80th to make sure that everything would go down the way that it was supposed to. If you were a fan of the United States, 1-0 win, Alyssa Thompson, and for the 223rd time, the U.S. gets their SheBelieves Cup victories, and they walk away with the trophy. 4th international goal, first of the year for Thompson. as she was just named London Football Awards Women's Young Player of the Year, set up by Jaden Shaw. And so the U.S. going into it only needed really a draw to get She Believes. But Alyssa Thompson, I did not have on the bingo card scoring the goal that would make the difference in this round of the She Believes Cup.
I won't say I agree with you. I think Alyssa Thompson has been on fire for Chelsea. Really the only bright point for that club. You hate to see it. And the goal she scores is a just true display of how informed she is, because her first touch, while it's a good first touch, doesn't necessarily set her up for a shot.
Yeah.
It's a little too close to her. It's not quite as far out in front as you would like to get a full swing of the legs through. So she kind of has to hit it. And really the only way she has to kind of get it up and over the way the geometry and physics are working right there. And so she does it perfectly. I mean, it is a rocket that hits the underside of the crossbar and barely crosses over the goal line because it was just so perfectly hit to get over Tapia, who's a very good goalkeeper, and beat a Colombia defense who the whole night had no problem throwing themselves in front of any shot. And, you have to shout out Colombia. They are a ferocious team. I think we all know that. That's the kind word to describe them. And they defend with their bodies better than just about any team that I've seen. They have no problem sacrificing their body to make sure you're not scoring. And Thompson's goal is just a beautifully executed technical goal that it it's a quick shot, comes out of nowhere. They aren't expecting it really, or she couldn't really, the goalkeeper couldn't really set for it. And it is, to me, no surprise that Alyssa Thompson is scoring goals like that. I want her a little more consistent within the game for the U.S. women, but her goal scoring prowess came across the pond with her in that moment.
Looking at starting lineups, if I could spell the word R. Looking at obviously starting lineups, so we can sit there and go, okay, who solidified, who scratched our heads collectively when it came to things. In net, it was Fallon Tullis-Joyce, starting 11, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, subbed out at the half by Tara Rudd, Emily Sonnet, who has played in all 742 She Believes Cup matches, I believe, for the United States. Avery Patterson, Sam Coffey, Lily Johannes subbed in for 30 for the last 30 for Lindsay Heaps. Rose Lavelle, part of a quadruple change at 61. Moultrie for Lavelle at 61. Sears for Rodman at 61. Jaden Shaw for Sentner at 61. And then Alyssa Thompson gets subbed out by Jamise Joseph with 5 minutes plus to go. For Colombia, it was Tapia, Guzman, Candela subs in for final 5. Carabali, Arias, Venegas, Montoya, who was subbed out for Izquierdo in 56. Restrepo subbed out with 5 to go. Caicedo, Lacey Santos, Manuela Pavi with 20 to go. And Robledo comes in for Maite Lopez in the 56th. Colombia had 10 shots to 8 for the United States. The U.S. had 3 on target compared to just the 1.
Yeah.
3 saves in the overall, 2 of them by Tapia, 5 corners, 18 fouls, 11 on Colombia, and 7 offsides, with the one card from the Dominican Republic center F in the 90th minute to Avery Patterson. So U.S. runs the table, goes 3-0, scores 4. They don't give up 1, and they get the She Believes Cup in 2026. What else stuck out with you from the match?
I think actually that stat line about the shots is a pretty good place to start, because the U.S. control. This is the theme, I think, for the U.S. in this She Believes Cup. For the most part, they controlled possession, dictated, for the most part, the tempo of the match. And Colombia and Argentina, they did bring a lot of bite to the match, to the game especially. But the U.S. was still able to dictate how the game was being played from actual soccer, not the non-soccer things that both Colombia and Argentina did very well. And I think what's frustrating is that it didn't really produce a lot on the attacking product.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a lot of good possession, but in that final third, it just seemed like, and this is a credit to Colombia to Argentina and a credit to Canada, they were able to force the U.S. to, or I guess, keep the U.S. from having too many runners in the box. And so these, cutback crosses weren't able to find an attacker. A lot of the 1-2 combos that we were trying to execute it and pulling off at the top of the box don't really go anywhere when you don't have that third runner coming in to at least draw a defender away or be that extra pass. And so if you're looking at this, you go, okay, 3 shutouts, love that, right? That is great for the U.S. national team. 3 wins, we love that, but only 4 goals in 3 matches, and not a whole lot of great attacking end product. It gives you something to work on, and if you're Emma Hayes as a coach, you like winning, but it feels a little bit like a Nick Saban moment but we weren't perfect. And so come April, when you're playing a very good Japan team, you got a lot to work on. You got a lot of film to crunch between now and then, because you win, so you could have the Emma loves winning dirty, winning hard, winning unperfect, because it shows mental resolve. But it means you still got stuff to work on. And I think that is the main takeaway here is you won, you did some things really well, but there's still a lot to work on. And this is, again, a team that is building into what it can be.
3 friendlies coming up in April against Japan, and the 11th, I'm guessing it's at PayPal Park in San Jose, the 14th in Seattle, and the 17th in Commerce City, Colorado, in the suburbs of Denver. Hopefully it will take them less than 9 hours to get from the airport in DIA out to Commerce City, because we all know and love the Denver airport. 2 changes from the previous lineup, fewest changes under Coach Hayes since the Olympic gold medal match on August 10th of 2024. 8th win of the 11 editions of She Believes. France in 17, England in 19, Japan last year. European teams have not competed in the tournament since 22 due to the Advent. So I guess it's the UEFA Nations League Advent calendar was what happened.
Yeah.
So you look at this tournament on the whole, and this is a question that I've started asking coaches with a lot more consistency. No win is 100% perfect, and no loss is 100% imperfect. And so that's why I always like to ask in the subsequent moments after these kinds of matches, what was it that you think you need to work on going forward in this? So yes, you won, you ran the table, you didn't give up a goal, you only scored 4 in 3. So I would imagine that there's going to be plenty for Emma Hayes to feast on going forward. And this is literally a month out, how would you anticipate this roster being built for these 3 friendlies? What kind of roster content are you looking for with the NWSL underway?
Well, I do think you mentioned the changes and how few there were. I think when we saw the lineup against Argentina, which is a takeaway of its own that we'll be discussing, actually, I think we're recording today with Miss Bridget Swartwood about recapping the SheBelieves Cup for the SoccerForUSPod. And that is something we want to dig into, because that Argentina lineup did feel very, I don't want to say second choice, but pre-rotated.
Right.
The fact that there weren't that many changes between the Canada match and the Colombia match, I think, to me, showed Emma liked what she saw for the most part from that Canada match and wanted to see if those players could build on it.
Right.
I don't know if they quite built on it the way that I think she would want to. I think she probably would have liked a little bit more of a convincing win against Colombia. But I think all in all, what you see from this and what you take away from it is Emma, I think, has a read on who she likes in certain positions in areas where those position battles are going to feature this year. I think we've talked about left back a lot. We've talked about goalkeeper a lot. I think maybe she kind of found a midfield combo that works. It's also fair to say that, I thought Allie Sentner was good as the central striker. I thought Jaden Shaw was effective. But I mean, Katarina Macario is still not playing, and that does lead something to wonder. You also have Sophia Smith, who is at least back in training for Portland Thorns, not quite back to playing for obvious reasons. And so I think that it's still an incomplete team, but it is coming together a little bit better. The puzzle, John, is coming together. You're just trying to figure out where the other pieces lie.
Okay. Other news on the flip side of things, I think obviously we have to gravitate toward the Serginho Dest injury.
Yeah.
Clutching his left hamstring early in the second half, departing PSV Eindhoven's 2-1 win over AZ Alkmaar. No immediate recovery timetable, but obviously if you were looking to see him here for the two friendlies, I would say if he's here, it's in streets and nothing more. So it's something that Mauricio Pochettino now has to keep an eye on is Serginho Dest and the hamstring injury. Once again, remember he missed the Copa America in 24 with an ACL tear, and he did express optimism on his IG, the Gram or the Insta account, thinking that he'll be back before the end of the Eredivisie season in mid-May.
Yeah.
But immediately when you're looking at Serginho Dest, MBS and Serginho Dest may not be a pair that will be connecting later this month.
Yeah, I just don't think he likes playing in Atlanta, clearly. Homeboy doesn't want to come here, although I think he would enjoy Atlanta a lot. His vibe matches Atlanta pretty well. This is a problem.
Okay.
Because we're also not fully sure where the health of our other fullback lies.
Mm-hmm.
And Jedi Robinson is in and out of the Fulham team because of nagging injuries. I think we're past the actual injury part of him. He seems to have recovered from his injuries from last year that he had surgically corrected. But now we're at when you get hurt like that and you're out for a while, that comeback can sometimes be stunted, as Giorena, by other injuries because your fitness and your body did take a time off. And people do not realize the little muscles and tendons and everything that is everywhere out through your body that do have some level of atrophy when you're in a cast or in a boot or using crutches even. And so I think Jedi is going through that. My hope is he'll be fine for the World Cup, but Jedi and Dest Jedi and Serginho are two of the most important players on this roster because of what they offer structurally, but also in attack. They are vital to this attack, right? So it is a problem. It's something that is concerning. However, I think that we are mostly covered with Serginho Dest if he's out. And in fact, to the point where I said on the Soccer for Us podcast last week,
excellent, that
if Serginho can't go, or excuse me, if Jedi can't go, Serginho for me is the left back backup.
Okay.
Because our right back options include a dude who just moved to Villarreal in Alex Freeman. And we can like him now. He doesn't play for the purple team that is somehow below us in the rankings. He's somehow, John, Atlanta United is not the worst team in the Eastern Conference. That title.
Yes. Well, and I would also, as a public service announcement, keep an eye on Oscar Pereja this week.
Yeah.
I have no background in any of this on the purple team, but I legitimately thought after the 5-0 loss to NYC that he might get tarmacked, and it hasn't happened yet, but keep an eye on it, and we'll keep an eye on what's going on with the purple team, and we have our spidey senses up on that. Please continue.
Yeah. Alex Freeman is a very capable backup. We still have Joe Scally, who is Mr. Consistent. He gives you what he gives you every single game. And then you even have the possibility of playing Tim Weah, especially if you are kind of using Tim as Serginho did in the past couple times that he's played for this team, a little bit more advanced, playing it more as a midfielder maybe. So Tim Weah can fill into that as well. So you have at least 3 options at right back who I think most U.S. fans would feel comfortable with. Serge being out is going to be a headache for Mauricio Pochettino because I think it just is, man, I'd like to see him again. But it's not going to be as detrimental as, say, Jedi Robinson being out and you only have Max Sargent's behind you. Nothing against Max. It's just that is a more significant downgrade than on the right side. And then selfishly, John, if I might say, Sergio Dest is real fun to watch play soccer, and I'm sad that I will not be able to do that probably in 19 days time.
Yes. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that, and we will let you once again continue to plug the Soccer for US POD and the new taping that is coming up soon. Other candidates, Haji Wright has now 6 goals in his last 5 appearances, second in the EFL Championship in scoring with 16 goals. As Coventry City won at Bristol City, they continue their run at the top of the table. Christian Pulisic came off in the 83rd, and he is now 10 without a goal. 1-0 win for AC Milan over Inter in the Derby Madonnina.
Della Madonnina. Yes.
Yes. So Weston McKennie starts, and he gets more minutes with Juve in the 4-0 win over Pisa. And Yunus Musa was pulled at the half in their matchup against Udinese. They have something else to keep an eye on because they've got Bayern on Tuesday in the first round of the 16s for Champions League. And let's see, France, 100th League appearance for Valérien Balogun. He got an assist in the 27th, scored from distance in the 73rd, 3-1 upset at PSG at the Stade de France. 5 goals in his last 5 matches.
We just got to tell him he's playing PSG every single time he takes the field.
There you go. Just have him put PSG glasses on. League total of 7, overall haul to 13. Tanner Tessman made his 19th league start in his matchup in Lyon's 1-1 draw with Paris FC. Weah and Mark McKenzie played 90 minutes apiece in Marseille's victory. Malik Tillman continued working back from an ankle injury. He came in for a cup of coffee for Leverkusen in their tie with Freiburg. Scally got 90. Nokai Banks won 84. John Tolkien played all of 10-man Holstein Kiel's 2-0 loss at Darmstadt. They are winless in 8 straight. And so John Tolkien could be in a point where Holstein Kiel could be relegated to the Bundesliga, Drei Bundesliga, if they keep this form up. Johnny started for the 4th straight time in Atleti's 3-2 win over Real Sociedad. And Alex Freeman was on the bench. Ricardo Pepi, first start since December 21st, got the game-winning goal for Eindhoven. Now has 10 and an overall count of 13. And Austin Trusty played 120, although it took a little longer than 120 because of fans running onto the pitch and acting like fools. Converted in the shootout. Celtic beat Rangers 4-2 after a 2-2 draw. So that's your Yanks abroad. Anything stick out to you from that?
Well, I do think it's important to point out that Johnny has become a more regular fixture in Atletico's lineup, only because, and this is the roster building kind of math you have to do, right? I think Johnny is the most like-for-like Tyler Adams replacement.
Okay.
In the sense that he is the most defensively capable of the defensive midfielders that are not named Tyler Adams. And also, as you know, he is back to playing. We've seen Tyler Adams have injury susceptibility even this year. So that's just good. That's good to see for Johnny. Obviously, you mentioned Tanner Tessman in that same report. Those 2 guys, I think, are the 2 most likely fighting for time if you're looking at behind Tyler Adams or even next to Tyler Adams. We'll see what that looks like. If all 3 of those guys are healthy, I'm very curious what that roster looks like in, I don't know, about a week and a half. I think those 2 guys are very interesting. Look, if Tyler's healthy, he's going to the World Cup. But these 2 guys have a shot to make the World Cup. And I think that they will be great backups to Tyler Adams come this summer.
And obviously, you'll keep an eye on it. So when are you taping? You think you're taping tonight?
We're supposed to tape today with Miss Bridget Swartwood, who from our Home Ground podcast, our women's soccer expert, if you will. We are
one word, by the way, right?
Our Home Ground.
No, Miss Bridget Smallwood. That's all one
word. Oh, Miss Bridget Swartwood from our Home Ground pod, women's soccer expert. Yes, that's all one word. So we are recording today to kind of look back at this SheBelieves Cup and answer some questions that we had, because our last taping for the women's national team back in January, it was at the end of January, so in beginning of February, we were like, I don't know what we learned from those two friendlies against Chile and Paraguay, and I think we actually got to learn some things from these three matches, and that gives us actual things to talk about, which is nice.
Yes, SoccerForUSPod, set your notifications for us here as a part of the SDH Network. Thanks for putting up with us, especially with our kvetching over what happened last night in MLS NEXT Pro, and understanding navigation and inconsistency and the rules and the laws of the game, especially when the 8 seconds happen, and trying to make sure that folks don't get in the way when you're trying to actually get your work done. As always, my friend, it's great to hear you today. We got to get to the bottom of what's going on with all the gremlins.
Tell you, I use Restream.
I know.
And I don't have these issues, so I don't know. I blame the live component of it all. I don't do live recording.
Yeah, well, then we need to figure out how you can sound fantastic and look fantastic. Be good, my friend. Thanks for dropping by. We'll catch up with you when the spleen deserves to be vented, and we're looking forward to the new POD. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see y'all as well.
There goes Bart. And by the way, yes, he is wearing his West Virginia. He's wearing his West Virginia pullover. He's probably going to post a still to socials, and he'll let you know what it looks like. And then he's got his Carolina Core mug because of everything that was going on. But good to catch up with him about the SheBelieves win, and really about inconsistencies that we heard and that we saw last night. But yes, Huntsville City Football Club coming to Athens Sunday night, 7 o'clock we're on at 6:30. And it will be Maddie and Jason in Athens, and obviously I will be part of pre and half and let you know what's going on there. And then it is sync up your devices, sync up your broadcast with however you are consuming the twos, with our broadcast with Maddie and Jason on the call, and that'll be Sunday night, 6:30 pregame, 7:02 kick is what it was supposed to. Sorry about the delays for the kickoff last night. I think because of the pitch, they were trying to figure out how to best navigate it and let it go from there. So we'll let you know. Obviously, like I said, 6:30 and 7:02, those are the key times for us on Sunday from the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens for MLS NEXT Pro and Atlanta United 2. Okay, kind of run the table here and let you know what's going on in and around the planet. And let's see, according to, and we're going to talk about this at Soccer Over There tonight at 8 o'clock. You had a match in the Brasileiro. It was the Campeonato Mineiro final between Cruzeiro and Mineiro. Cruzeiro won 1-0. You had 23 red cards. 23. And we'll talk about it. We might even play the Portuguese play-by-play for you. Closing stages, Everson pushes Christian to the ground. Christian's teammates all confront Everson. You get a melee, people leaving the bench. Hulk was at the center of it all. He was giving some and getting some. Took a flying kick from Lucas Villalba through punches. Hulk was punching Lucas Romero in the back of the head. They had to bring on security personnel. It's out there. Mateus Kandankan reportedly requested police protection. Stopped for around 10 minutes. Game was allowed to finish. 23 red cards, a Brazilian record. Previous record 22 back in 1954. I've never seen violence like that in any football game, Hulk told the local media after. We cannot set that example because it ends up having repercussions all around the world. We have a responsibility to safeguard our image and the image of the institution, saith the gentleman who was trading punches and taking punches. Cruzeiro's head coach Tite said, I want to convey to the Cruzeiro fans the affection and respect I have for them. I may lack competence at times, but respect for the fans, the work, the dignity, the honesty is all that counts. CONMEBOL's reviewing the incident and expect serious sanctions. Roman Abramovich is going to fight any attempt by the UK government to confiscate his frozen Chelsea sale funds in a conversation, and this is 2.5 billion pounds we're staring at here. He says Abramovich has no plans to let the government distribute the £2.35 billion from the sale of Chelsea without his blessing. Money's been frozen since May of 22. Remains committed to charitable causes, but sources have told Talk Sport, and this is from our friend Ben Jacobs, he wants to use it for all victims of the war in Ukraine with no clear definition as to what that means and whether or not it would include Russians who have been affected by the conflict. UK government maintains the money must be used for Ukrainian victims or causes only and are prepared to take legal action to confiscate the funds to resolve the 4-year stalemate. Legal team for Abramovich argues the money still belongs to the billionaire and they will fight any attempt to release any money against his wishes. A letter from Abramovich's law firm seen by Talk Sport acknowledges complex legal issues and makes it clear any legal action from the UK government will be challenged. And let's see, Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, the money was promised to Ukraine over 3 years ago. It's time Roman Abramovich does the right thing, but if he won't, we will act. That's why the license has been issued. It is time. This money was used to rebuild the lives of people who've seen devastation as a result of Putin's illegal war, end quote. The $2.35 billion from Boley Clear Lake on the purchase, originally $2.5, but £150 million set aside to deal with potential issues arising from due diligence, including ongoing FA charges for alleged financial rule breaches during Abramovich's tenure. Of that money, £1.4 billion is also owed to Camberley International Investments after Abramovich made a loan from his Jersey-registered company to Chelsea. And so you have all this money going in a bunch of these different places, but the UK government is about ready to sit there and go, nope, we're taking it, and you can't do anything about it. Jacob Whitehead, New York Times. 5 players defected from Iran's women's football team being cared for in an Australian federal police safe house. It occurred Monday early evening local time, and the absence was discovered at team dinner. And so we'll have more on this, obviously, at Soccer over there tonight. And this was updated about an hour and 40 minutes ago. Operated by Australian Federal Police is where they are with the safe house. Sources with direct knowledge say the operation occurred after the final match of the Asian Women's Cup against the Philippines in Australia. Police assisted the 5 individuals in leaving the hotel early Monday evening local time. Sources added the team had been made aware of their options by Australian government representatives earlier in the week. It was discovered the 5 players were missing at the team's scheduled dinner on Monday. And the Iranian women's side label wartime traitors by state TV seemingly threatened with repercussions on their return to the country after failing to sing the national anthem in the opening Asian Cup match. Urgent talks have been taking place between FIFA and AFCON, the Asian Football Confederation, which organized the tournament, and the Australian government over whether it was possible to extend the Iranian team's stay in the country for their own safety. So that is part of the story. Jacob Whitehead at The Athletic. So that is your required reading for the morning when it comes to all of that. The president of the CAF, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, is announcing a $2 million increase in prize money for the winner of the CAF Champions League and a $2 million increase for the CAF Confederations Cup winner in the 25-26 season. That comes out from CAF this morning, and it is now $6 million, a 50% increase, while the victor in the Total Energies CAF now gets $4 million US, a 100% increase. And in the 5 years of Dr. Motsepe's leadership of the CAF, the prize money for the winner of Champions League has increased from $2.5 million to $6 million, a 140% increase, 220% increase in CAF Confederations Cup from $1.25 million to $4 million. And so latest increases take the overall prize money and solidarity payments to African clubs over $42 million a season, an increase of 114% since Dr. Motsepe was elected president. And that comes from AFCON their own selves. Quickly, let's get you into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps us out, it helps them out, it helps you out to continue to add more leagues and countries to what you're already watching. You get a lot of South America with everything from TEC in Argentina. You get the Copa, you get the lower divisions, you get the LPF, you get Libertadores and Sudamericana with BN Sports. You get all the BNs, which means you get the Polish League, you get the Turkish League, you get the French League. So you could have seen Monaco's upset of PSG this past weekend if you had Fanatis, and you could have watched on the BNs. You get CDO, you get CDO2, you get TVV if you want to add Venezuelan television and sports to your project and to all of the all of the stuff that is going on on your streaming services. So it is all over the place when it comes to what to watch. So the full TV schedule for today: Polish League Wisła Plock and Arka Gdynia at 2 o'clock, simulcast on BN Espanol. ESPN Deportes has La Liga at 4 o'clock. Fox Deportes has Serie A at 3:45. FA Cup Monday Night Football, West Ham and Brentford's at 3. Espanyol Real Oviedo's at 4. La Liga 2, Almeria and Cultural Leonesa is at 3:20. Fox ONE and Paramount Plus are simulcasting Lazio and Sassuolo. Libertadores, by the way, picks up again tomorrow night. Let's see. The gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and all of those things. Once again, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. Helps us out, helps you out, helps them out to add a lot more viewing habits to what you already have. And you get to keep up with a lot of players in the LPF like Santi Sosa, Luis Abram, a lot of players who are now playing in South America. You get to see what they're up to as well when it comes to everything. And so apparently Liverpool is ahead of Manchester United in the race to land Jedi Robinson this summer. Barca won't let Alejandro Balda leave for a move to Old Trafford. Those are your headlines there. Once again, Team Talk is saying both clubs expected to be in the market for new left backs, meaning Liverpool and Manchester United. Jedi could be available for around £25 million under contract at Fulham until June of 28. Liverpool looking to replace Andy Robertson. United planning for life after Luke Shaw. Alejandro Balda, according to Fabrizio Romano, linked to Manchester United. Key part of Barcelona's future. United have signed Patrick Dorgu to play on the left side of the defense. Report claims United will move for a new left winger in the summer. City closing in on Tino Livramento out of Newcastle, according to Football Insider. They want to bolster their options at right back and they're still looking for that replacement for Kyle Walker. So they're looking at Livramento now, could move for around £70 million. Fulham expected to accelerate their efforts to sign Pepe, according to Fabrizio Romano. Fulham close to agreeing to a fee in the neighborhood of €37 million, $44 million in the January window, but it was contingent upon PSV finding a replacement, which they couldn't do in time. Arsenal ready to send Miles Lewis-Skelly on loan for the rest of the season. He has started one match since January, found himself behind Piero Hincapié and Ricardo Calafiori. Everton are interested on a temporary basis. PSG's Bradley Barcola emerging as an option for Manchester United. Forest's Ibrahim Sangare is on the short list for Manchester United as well. Newcastle showing interest in Bournemouth's Marcus Tavernier, who's also wanted by Manchester United. Hincapié, a loan move, is hoping to be made permanent for €52 million in June for Arsenal. Dominic Solanke wanted by Newcastle. Xavi Simons could leave Spurs in the summer, according to Nicolas Shira. 3, 6, 7 teams are interested in signing Al Ittihad winger Moussa Diaby. Callum Wilson has agreed to sign a one-year extension at West Ham, expected to stay till June of 27. Atletico de Madrid Chiefs are divided over whether they should make Nico Gonzalez's loan transfer from Juve permanent. They can do so for €32 million. AC Milan weighing up a move for Nathan Ake. He could be available for a cut price transfer fee, current deal expiring in 27. Borussia Mönchengladbach midfielder Rocco Reitz reached an agreement to join RB Leipzig. Juve captain Manuel Locatelli getting closer to extending his contract at the club after rejecting advances from the Premier League. Atletico de Madrid keen on signing Bayer Leverkusen youngster Ibrahim Maza, who could be available for around €35 million, according to Ekrem Konur. So that is the runaround with all of the gossip and everything going on today. All right, stuff to keep an eye on for the remainder of the day when it comes to all of the action and all the activity. And like I said, you've got a lot of stuff from the weekend. We'll talk about it a lot more tonight around the planet at 8 o'clock for soccer over there. And you've got, let's see, just taking the tour really quickly. Obviously, we'll start getting into Major League Soccer, the rest of MLS tomorrow, and we'll kind of get into that. Once again, Glenn Davis at 9:30, Casey White's going to join us at 10. She's going to discuss what happened in St. Louis, and we'll go through her goals and get her thoughts on everything else that was going on the weekend. So USL Championship season, remember, it opened while the labor dispute is still ongoing. Bluegrass Derby started with a moment's silence and players not moving from their positions on the surface. And so you had that. Sporting Jacks lost to Hartford Athletic. Brooklyn FC beat Indy 11. So your new expansion clubs in USL Championship, they had a split verdict. And keep an eye on the CONCACAF Champions Cup match with Mount Pleasant and LA Galaxy. It was mentioned last week that Mount Pleasant could have as many as 10 players, 6 Haitian nationals denied entry. And so Mount Pleasant is trying to assemble a roster, so keep an eye on that as we get into the activity on Tuesday and Wednesday in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Also, it is we mentioned Iraq. Their head coach, Graham Arnold, has asked FIFA to postpone his team's World Cup playoff scheduled for March 31st. Airspace and visa complications, plus everything else going on in the region, are making it difficult for the team right now. FIFA had presented the team a 25-hour travel plan to get from the country to Monterrey, and that was soundly rejected by Coach Arnold and by the Federation, I believe. So they're trying to figure out what to do there. So March 31, Monterrey. Graham Arnold's asking for a postponement until closer to the World Cup so Iraq can feature their full squad. You had, Port Vale, their big win in the FA Cup, knocking off Sunderland 1-0. It was a great win for them, and that one for those of you that had the chance to see it. 2-2 draw with the Benfica and Porto, and we will catch up with our buddy Nino Torres about that on Thursday when he joins us for the Power Hour. It was Apollo Sports Capital. Looks like they're set to complete their 55% ownership stake in Atletico de Madrid on a valuation of €2.5 billion. It would make them the majority shareholder, obviously. Toluca gets a 3-1 win over Juarez at Estadio Nemesio Diaz, and that puts Toluca unbeaten in the Clausura, early contender for the top of the table, and controlled most of the match. And so we'll keep an eye on all of that and everything else. Once again, tonight, 8 o'clock, it is soccer over there, and we will get you through anything and everything as we are starting yet another week for Atlanta United. So, David, I thought that he had agreed too, and then he said, I got conditions. And those conditions being, it's got to be for everybody. It can't just be for Ukraine. So, yes, we got to. And so, morning, David. Morning, Derek. Morning, Will. Morning, Wiley. The biscuit color for me, we were talking about the gear. And so, once again, opening kickoff tomorrow will be to assemble your thoughts about the 96-26 gear. Boss has already pretty much started wearing all of it. He says, I hate the biscuit color. Yeah, I'm not necessarily a biscuit colored guy, but I'm with you. But I think the workout T-shirts, the old gold and the green, they're pretty solid. You have the quarter zip, which is ridiculous. Seriously, the line to get into the store on Saturday, if you were not there, limited supply, 1 per person, and they had like maybe 50. I'm guessing. Wasn't a whole lot, and they had to have your size or you were in trouble. It was wild. So morning, Will, morning, Michael. And yeah, I know the one, as Michael says, it's daylight saving time. Yes, that is true. There is no S. As much as I wish it was a plural, it is a singular, daylight saving time. That is absolutely true. Let's see. So Will and Michael, and I saw Emilio is in this morning. Morning, David. Let's see. Will and Wiley and Derek. Yeah, and Hibbert did have a monster game last night. Let's see. Trying to see who else is in here this morning. So it's Wiley and Will and Derek and Michael and Emilio. And I saw Abby was in earlier this morning. And Carmel 723, welcome. I think this is the first time that Carmel 723 has been in. So good morning to all of y'all. And let's see. So David and Emilio and Derek and Emilio and Michael and Carmel asking what the problem is. It's some past tense and then trying to integrate the present tense. So if that's the short version. Morning 4 card. And 4 card, I think we know now for sure problem is and has been the players and not Padena and not Ronnie Dyla. Emilio and Abby and Derek and Michael and David and Lokeville. Good morning, Lokeville. And wondering about Jaden Hibbert not playing and not starting. I think you're giving Jaden the opportunity once again to learn from an experienced voice. And so I think that's part of it. And then you're also looking at you're looking at Monday through Friday. And like I said, I think right now it's experienced voice to get you into the season with all the new faces in front of him. I think that's why, or at least that's part of it anyway. So Michael and Emilio and Derek and Lokeville and let's see, there's Derek and Michael, and I'm trying to say hi to everybody. And there's Abby and there's Forecard, and I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that I have not mentioned. Derek and David, and wow, a lot of you are commenting this morning. That's great. Morning, Ricky. Ricky was in off the top, and so let's see. I do think it was an improvement, but once again, we always talk about moments in game state and then things that you can't have happen. I thought offensively they were better. And like I said, we'll talk about this throughout the week, but here's the Cliff Notes version. I think they were better offensively. You got to see what Alexei Miranchuk means to this offense. I think that formationally having Miggy on the left helps out because this way it sets up Alexei to do things with his left foot and they're not, in the same airspace. I think that Latte Lot is still trying to become comfortable with Miggy off to the left and Alexei off to the right. But you can't have the moments like you had, like we had with Tata explaining it. And when I read you the quotes from the quote sheet after the match, you've got to have that foul. You have to have that foul from Tristan. You have to deny that opportunity from happening by the time it gets to center circle. And then Barakal just turns and he commits one way and he's off of square. And then the player cuts back to his left and then it's left for everybody else to try and defend. So it's individual moments. And let's see, Abby and Ricky and David and Michael and David. And there we go. Okay. And I know a lot of you are also talking about the TIFO too. So that was, that was wild. All right. So that is Monday. It's a Reaction Monday. Obviously, we'll turn into Reaction Tuesday and Wednesday and lay it all out for you tonight. Tonight, once again, soccer over there, 8:00. We'll get into picks of the week. I was minus for the week. So I don't know. I need to pick better games, or I just need to pick. And that was with everybody winning, with New England and Houston being postponed. So my week was pretty bad. It was 1, 2, 3. I literally was 3-5 and had overshot the tiebreaker question by about 50%. But I did get the Clockwork Sausage pick correct in Nublense. But yeah, we'll talk about that at 8:00 tonight. And go 8 to 10, and we'll go picks of the week in hour number 2. We'll talk about all the other stuff we talked about internationally. We'll get into that as well as we get you ready for everything. Tuesday, once again, Glenn Davis at 9:30. Casey White's going to join us at 10. That gets the week off and running. Hopefully, Dylan can join us at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. We'll start our week coming out of Major League Soccer and going back into Major League Soccer for match week 4. Nino and Nico, we'll talk about Portugal. Our man was on Fubo TV. Gotta love that. So Fubo TV with Nino and Nico, and that was at 10 and 10:30 Thursday. Friends from Apple TV at 10 o'clock on Friday. Beyond Goals Mentoring, hopefully at 9:30 on Friday. Tomorrow is the last normal show of the week. And what I mean by that is that this is behind me. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to start 5 minutes early. Start at 9, end at 11, because I've got to be out of the hotel in Macon to race to the Coliseum to be there by 11:30. So that's the game plan with the high school basketball championships Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday on GPB, gpb.org, and the GPB Sports app, and however you consume the GPB. So conference calls are going on today. They're going on right now, actually. And we get to catch up on all that and catch up with coaches. And we're taping some stuff this afternoon. And so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm in a hotel room in Macon. That's why it's going to look weird. But we're still doing the show 5 minutes early, ending at 11 o'clock. And then that is, that's kind of how we're trying to do like 19 things at once. And Will, my thoughts and prayers are always with the Shrimpton family. They really are. If you're a Shrimpton, don't be a drummer. That's all I'm going to say. For everybody here at SDH, thanks for hanging out with us here as you do on your Monday mornings, and breaking it all down with us as we break it down all week long on Reaction Monday, and we get you ready for everything going on match week 4 in Major League Soccer coming up here in a bit. So thanks to Bart, thanks to Maddie, thanks to y'all, and thanks for being a part of it every single day here at SDH. Since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Back at it tonight, 8 o'clock for soccer over there.